Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Great Nigerian workers. Great. Great Nigerian workers. Great. I wish to say good afternoon to you all. Members of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria from different affiliates, I welcome you all to this press briefing. And also, gentlemen of the press, I welcome you all to this press briefing that is being delivered by the leadership of Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. Then also, members, it was just a few minutes ago that we created a Zoom link and we just placed it in one of our platforms. So all NEC members that are joining us via Zoom, I say good afternoon to every one of us. This thing is interfering. Gentlemen of the press, I thank you so much for finding time to be here this afternoon, despite the very short notice that came in yesterday. So I'll just have a prepared speech, and we'll just read through. Then at the end, we'll send you an electronic copy of the speech. Press briefing made by the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria (TUC) President on Monday, 28th of February 2024. And the title is "Hunger and Economic Difficulties in Nigeria, TUC Position." The leadership of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has been closely monitoring the increasing rate of hunger and hardship faced by Nigerian workers and the general populace. Over the past few weeks, we have delved into the root causes of these challenges and have researched possible solutions that could help reduce the economic difficulties faced in the immediate, the short term, as well as providing long-term mitigations. The root causes of the challenges. Why are we really here today? Why are we really facing this economic downturn today? Why are we facing so much hardship in our land today? Two of the major root causes will be highlighted below. There are others, but these are the two principal root causes that we have identified. Number one, uncontrolled devaluation of Naira. Uncontrolled Naira devaluation, our exchange rate, is the major root cause of the challenge we face, of the challenge we are facing as a country today. As Nigeria is largely import dependent, this is the singular reason that diesel is above 1,400 Naira in the market. It is the reason the price of cement has soared. It is the reason the price of vehicles are gone through the roof, etc. The value of our Naira has eroded, and our wage can barely buy anything in the market, as Naira has officially devalued by over 250%, from about 460 Naira to 1,600 Naira since May 2023. This is the official value. The parallel market is even worse. On May 29, 2023, the government announced that it will be unifying the exchange rate. Initially, most of us thought that the multiple exchange rate windows that existed officially and maintained by CBN will be merged into one. You could remember the Emefiele CBN, the I&E window, you have a rate. For the customs, you have a rate. So there were different rates that were existing. So when government said that they want to merge it, So our thought was that they wanted to merge the multiple exchange, the official multiple exchange rate. Pegging the exchange rate at an average of 500 naira, but a scenario where we have allowed speculators to hijack the market, and the official rate is now chasing speculators, all in the name of demand and supply, is embarrassingly worrisome. A glaring impact of this anomaly as it affects our minimum wage is highlighted below. When the National Minimum Wage Act was signed into law in 2011, the minimum wage was increased from 7,500 naira to 18,000 naira. At that time, the naira to dollar exchange rate was about 155 naira to USD. This set the minimum wage in Nigeria at about $116. This value shows the real purchasing power of the minimum wage, since Nigeria is mostly reliant on imports. Again, in 2019, when the national minimum wage was 30,000 naira, when the national minimum wage of 30,000 naira was passed into law, the naira dollar exchange rate was about 360 naira to a dollar. This pegged the minimum wage to about $85.5. Basic economics taught us that money serves as a store of value. However, due to uncontrolled devaluation, the value of the naira has eroded over time. Today, the real value of the minimum wage is about 17 USD, using an average rate of 1,700 to a dollar. Now, looking at the parallel market rate, this decrease in workers' disposable income is at the heart of the current crisis. Remember, when the new minimum wage was implemented in 2019, it was over $85, but today it is $17 or thereabout. So this has completely eroded. If the exchange rate stabilizes today at 580 to 600 naira per dollar, the price of goods and services will remain largely stable, as inflation will largely be within a controllable limit. For example, the price of diesel will be around 780 to 800 naira, which would reduce the operational cost for businesses. The price of PMS will reduce by 15%. Additionally, the price of cooking gas will remain at 700 naira per kg instead of the current 1,200 to 1,500 naira per kg. This will curtail the problem of smuggling of foodstuffs to neighboring countries with stronger currencies that will give bigger returns to our farmers, thus worsening the food crisis and the food availability in our country. Then the second challenge that we have also seen is the spate of insecurity. This is the second problem that we identified. The spate of insecurity across the length and breadth of the country has chased most farmers to run away from their farms. Needless to say that the level of insecurity in our country has degenerated over the years. This has prevented farmers to go to farm in most parts of the country. The effect of this has reduced the quantity of farm produce that comes into the market. With a constant demand and reduction in supply, the price of food are bound to increase astronomically, as there will be a sharp movement in the demand and supply curve. In Nigeria, we always lament of problems. in Nigeria, we always look at problems. A child that is just barely speaking could tell you some of the problems and the challenges we face in Nigeria. But at times, what is most difficult is proposing a solution, and a solution that is workable. So for us in Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, the leadership examined these two problems and tried to proffer practical solutions that could be implemented. And we have about 15 of them that we have that we'll be putting forward. Number one, determination of the real value of Naira. The monetary policy managers should determine the true value of Naira, allowing the official exchange rate to devalue with the black market rate that does not follow market fundamentals. Is not the right approach to this local and international. Is not the right approach. Local and international financial institutions have determined this value to be between 880 naira to 650 naira to $1 in July 2023. Remember, when the multiple exchange rate, it was being touted that they want to merge it together. The first thing that came was that experts all over the world, experts from JP Morgan Chase, experts from Bank of America, experts from Barclays Bank, experts from Nigeria banks, experts from, financial economists in Nigeria, they all said that from all simulations, from all modeling, that the true and the fair value for Naira should be between 580 Naira to 650 Naira to $1. The federal government needs to work towards achieving this realistic rate. Thereafter, the exchange rate will then be adjusted on an annual basis using a factor K that will be determined by US and Nigeria inflation figures. This adjustment can also be made every 6 months to avoid sudden shock. It does not make sense economically to allow the currency to float freely against an international currency that is in acute shortage of supply due to excessive demand. With this in place, investors could forecast the return on their investment with some degree of certainty. This stability will result in the restoration of confidence in the market, and foreign direct investors will monitor this stability before eventually returning to the country. This can be easily implemented by CBN, who are the managers of our monetary policy, by directing banks to reject dollar bid above the threshold of 580 naira to 650 naira. This was done between July and October 2023, when the exchange rate stabilized at around 790 naira to $1. Actually, what we are proposing is actually what has been done even in Nigeria within the last 8 months of the advent of this president. If you could remember, when the flotation happened, the Naira started running away. But you could check and recall that between July and October, the official exchange rate of Naira was stabilized at about 790 Naira to $1. What simply happened was that there was an instruction from the financial managers to the bank chief executives telling them that all bid that is much more than 790 should be rejected. And that was how we maintained that exchange rate. We stabilized that exchange rate within that period. So what we are demanding is that we can also do something like that because we know what is the fair value of our exchange rate. And this has been determined by various financial simulations. And it fell between 580 naira to about 650 naira. So the government should do exactly what they did between July and October 2023. The current surge in demand is not just from the manufacturers or importers of goods, but also from students studying abroad, individuals engaging in medical tourism, those earning cash illicitly, as it has been noticed that there are a lot of corruptly earned cash chasing the naira, and they are willing to buy at all costs. Number two, minimum wage. Number two, minimum wage. As established in the prior analysis, the value of the current national minimum wage is about 17 USD. Hence, there is an urgent need to hasty conversations around the new minimum wage conversation for it to be passed into law. Faithful implementation of the new minimum wage by government at all levels and the private sector will help increase the disposable income of workers and thus their purchasing power. Because if the minimum wage is not increased, if the masses doesn't have money to purchase, the manufacturer warehouse will be filled because you don't have money to buy. Today, I wonder how many middle class can even buy a Tokumbo car, talk less of a brand new car, because the purchasing power has been completely eroded. Number three, custom exchange rate for goods used in manufacturing. Today, the exchange rate used by customs for clearing machineries, spare parts, and other commodity that fit into the manufacturing line and processes, farm equipment, should be revised to between 580 naira to 650 naira to $1. Or at best, a tax waiver should be given to some of these imported goods that are critical in the manufacturing and agricultural processes. Customs should focus on facilitating trade rather than merely being a revenue collection agencies. In developed world, customs facilitate trades. But here in, year out, when you look at the scroll bar of major TV channels, you are going to see customs celebrating that they have raked in 1.7 trillion, that they have hit target. That is not the primary function of customs. That is the primary function of those that are saddled to collect tax, like the Federal Inland Revenue Service and all the state revenue collection agencies. That is their function. What customs must do is how to facilitate trade. What are those machineries? What are those equipment that the critical sector needs? What are those equipment that the manufacturing line needs? What are those papers that they need in a cement manufacturing company? How can they get this out on time for it to be fit into those various machineries, or for it to be installed to allow the production process to commence? That is actually what customs should facilitate. But we are not saying that this should be done completely free. But the essence really is how to get industries to work. The essence is how to ensure that the manufacturers, they keep manufacturing. After all, the profit that the manufacturers are going to turn in, the profit that the commercial agriculturists are going to turn in, government is going to tax them. So the more profit they make, the more revenue that will come to government. So we demand that within the next 2 weeks, that government should look at this. That is how to bring the clearing fee or the conversion rate from naira to dollar, how to bring it down to the original value for the naira, which is pegged around 480 to 650 naira. When that is done, the cost of clearing goods are going to reduce. Number 4, allegation that subnationals, states and local government throw billions of dollars monthly into the parallel market. Foreign exchange market watchers and analysts have all said that naira depreciates further whenever FAC allocation are shared among the 3 tiers of government. Some data have been provided to back this up by financial and economic analysts. This call for further interrogation. The Economic and Financial Crime Commission and the National Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, should be immediately deployed to monitor the account of those who are credited from FAC allowance. All transfers to parallel market operators and bureau de change must be tracked, and perpetrators must be brought to book. That is, those that collect money from FAC and send it directly to black market. That is part of the free money, the money that you didn't work for, that is chasing our USD, that is actually making the USD to be running away on a daily basis. Nigeria has been an import-dependent nation. We have been importing literally everything for the past 30 years. But the naira has been relatively stable with minimal levels of depreciation. So what has happened today that has placed naira the way it is? So part of it is the allegation that the subnationals, state and local government, that they patronize the parallel market and that they are ready to buy the dollar at any price. A food for thought. We have been an import-dependent nation for several years. Even at a time when our crude production was relatively low and oil sold for about $10 per barrel, our naira never ran riot the way it did in the past month. So what has changed suddenly? Number 6, clamp down on speculative trading in the foreign exchange market. Government and the central bank should institutionalize policies that will deter speculators from striving to untwist the market by allowing a +2% of official rate on their platforms. In recent times, we have seen a lot of online platforms where Nigerians exchange naira for dollar, especially Nigerians living in diaspora. The remittance from Nigeria in diaspora, which used to be a major source of foreign exchange, has dwindled to nothing with the advent of outrageous rates on those platforms. Most Nigerians go to these platforms to benchmark rates for exchange instead of the official platforms. There should be a ceiling, as stated above, on these platforms in order to prevent them from speculators and unscrupulously profiteering. Number 7, patronizing made in Nigeria goods. Government at all levels must start promoting made in Nigeria goods. They must lead by examples, by patronizing locally made or locally assembled vehicles. They can start from there. A framework must be quickly put in place to identify the goods that are produced in Nigeria, and government must start patronizing them immediately. Number 8, strengthening the economic management team. The economic team of the federal government must be strengthened. The president must look beyond party or tribal line to headhunt the best Nigerians throughout the world who could sit down and develop homegrown solutions to these menaces. Reputable Nigerian economists and financial experts, locally and internationally, are bound to draw from. The tripartite economic management team that was set up yesterday by the federal government is commendable, but most of these people are saddled with other responsibilities and could be easily distracted, bringing a Dangote, bringing a Tony Elumelu and all the likes, and making them economic advisors. They have their businesses that they run. They have the things they do on a daily basis. They will barely have time to think about the challenges and how to advise government. The government should bring on board great economists on a full-time basis. They will work with the current team on a daily basis and review issues and profile practicable solutions to them. Number 9, time to stop following the dictates of IMF and World Bank. The federal government should henceforth stop following the dictates of IMF and World Bank to the latter, but rather develop a homegrown solution to our economic woes. The same IMF that advised the government to remove all forms of subsidy and float its currency was also the same institution that recently said that the hunger and hardship in the land have increased and that the government should do the needful. Number 9, effectively supervising the activities of banks. The CBN must develop policies and systems that will effectively monitor FX transactions and effectively supervise the movement of FX trading on all the banking systems. This will reduce excessive arbitrage that is currently obtainable. Any defaulting institutions must be sanctioned. It's a time to apply the carrot and stick approach. Number 10, curbing crude oil theft and increase investment stimulating in oil and gas wells. It is widely known that oil and gas exports have been the primary source of our foreign exchange earnings for many years. At its peak, we produced around 2.5 million barrels of crude or of crude oil equivalent per day. However, over time, this amount has drastically decreased to an astronomically low level. In January 2024, the production from Nigeria Upstream Regulation Commission, NUPRC, was just above 1.4 million barrels per day. The majority of this reduction is due to crude theft, while a good percentage is attributable to the lack of investment by both indigenous and international oil and gas producers. In order to address this issue, the government needs to instruct the industry regulator and security agencies to take immediate action against crude theft and bring those responsible to justice. Additionally, the provisions in the host communities section of the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, should be fully implemented to encourage these communities to take ownership of the oil and gas facilities. The able-bodied men from the host communities can also be enlisted as whistleblowers and work alongside the security agencies, as this has been proven to produce the best results. It is important to engage the CEOs of the IOC companies in producing subsector of the oil and gas industry in a frank conversation about what the government can do to encourage them to invest in production stimulation and enhancement. All the bottlenecks that hinder incremental production should be removed immediately, and incentives provided to encourage them to increase their respective production. This should be achieved within the next 2 months. That means the engagement with them should be done within the next 2 weeks. The reason why it should be done within the next 2 weeks is because the easiest way with which we can earn foreign exchange today is still from the oil and gas sector. That is the quickest way. So what we need to do is that government needs to sit down with the chief executive officer of these various institutions, both the indigenous oil producers and the international oil companies, and discuss with them, very frank conversation, what can be done to bring about incremental production. If today we can move our production from about 1.4 million barrels to about 2.2, 2.3 million barrels, we are going to have enough FX that will flow into the market. But no matter the level of FX we have, a market where you have powerful speculators and you are floating your currency along that line, it will never be stable. Number 12, curbing insecurity for farmers to return to farm. Concerted effort should be made to curb the state of insecurity across the length and breadth of our country so that farmers could return to farm. Several literatures abound on what government across the 3 tiers of government could do to address this. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. On issues of security, we've made several pronouncements and we've made several suggestions. And a lot of literatures are there for government to read and learn from. The recent thought of state and community policing is long overdue, and deliberate effort must be made to conclude the necessary constitutional amendment to enable it take off in earnest. Number 13, temporary importation of food from abroad. The quest for survival today, is real today than ever before. Nigerians must live to see tomorrow before we could understand how beautiful a government policy is. The national pride of striving to achieving food sufficiency locally and not importing from abroad should be temporarily relaxed. Government at all levels should immediately source and purchase sufficient quantity of food items from different parts of the world and distribute to the vulnerable Nigerians. Importing food from abroad at this point will assist in reducing the hyperinflation of food that is currently being experienced locally. For example, the price of rice is above the roof today because government at all levels are chasing rice producers to buy the available rice. So when government carry their $1 billion into $1 billion into the market and chasing rice, the same rice that the middle class is also going to buy, the same rice that those that they did not put within the vulnerable group is also going to buy, the price of rice is bound to increase because you have excess demand for it. But if they allow us to manage the one we have locally here, and whenever they want to distribute rice they import it from abroad. It is time, it is when you are well fed, when everything is going normal, then you will say that you want to be self-sufficient, that you want to produce what you eat. But this is an emergency, and government must treat it as such. TUC hereby demand that government should, as a matter of urgency, commence importation and allow importation of essential food items into the country within the next 2 weeks. Number 14, task for states and local government. State government must immediately choose at least 6 different food crops to cultivate. Similarly, each local government must identify 3 food crops to cultivate as well. Now that we are approaching rainy season, this must be done immediately in order to boost food production in the next few months. An emergency food coordination center between the federal and state government should be set up immediately to interface on the kind of crop to produce and the variety that will yield much more per hectare. The Congress leadership strongly believe that when all the solutions profiled above, okay, before that, let me take number 15. Number 15. The Congress visited the Port Harcourt refinery about a week ago to inspect the state of rehabilitation of both the old and new refineries. We are demanding that crude production from the old Port Harcourt refinery must commence before the end of first quarter of 2024. We further demand that the rehabilitation of the new Port Harcourt refinery, Warri refinery, and Kaduna refinery must be expedited, as we shall be closely monitoring progress and work completion as scheduled in the work breakdown structure. So, a visitation was made to the refinery. You know, you could always be told several stories. They told us that the refinery has achieved mechanical completion, that they are fine-tuning their testing processes for production to commence. But this was the story they told to us. But we needed to visit the refinery in order to ascertain the true status. So, some members of NAC visited the Port Harcourt refinery. They went to both the old, although they are in the same compound, but separated by the process platforms. They visited both the old refineries and the new refineries. The new refinery. When I say new refinery, one of the refineries was built in 1965. Another was built in the 80s. So the one built in the 80s is referred to as a new refinery, while the one of 1965 is referred to as the old refinery. So they visited both of them, and when they went through them, they spoke with the contractor, they spoke with the people that ought to know. And when they did all this, they ascertained that hopefully we should get production from these refineries soon. But for us, we are demanding that before the end of March, this refinery, the old refinery, should start production, no matter how little. Let's start from somewhere. Because as they say, a journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a step. So that is 15, the recommendations or the proposed solution put together by the leadership of the Congress. So the Congress leadership strongly believes that when all the solutions profiled above are implemented, the current challenges will ease off within the shortest possible time. Most especially the one of bringing back the Naira exchange rate. This we know that they can fully achieve. In conclusion, we shall be submitting these documents to government with a view of engaging them immediately for onward implementation. We will be updating you periodically on progress made. Thank you so much, gentlemen of the press. Thank you so much, comrades. Long live TUC. Long live trade union movement. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
What minimum wage do you think that Nigerian workers will need to get now to cushion the effects of the hardship that they are facing? Thank you.
Please bring the mic for us. I thought
no, you will come in. You will.
Let him
okay.
We didn't.
Comrade.
We didn't agree. So why do we say it?
Comrade from Channels, the comrade from This Day, and the comrade from Daily Trust. What is the meaning of opt-out? I want you to help me. What does opt-out mean? Yeah, let me understand the grammar so that I will be able to respond. What does it mean? Three of you. Any of you can help me. What does opt-out mean? No. That's the meaning of opt-out. Please, hold on. I'm getting somewhere. Thank you. Hold on. Thank you. I've asked you a question. Don't ask another question. You've answered what I've asked. So, comrade, please listen. Comrade from Daily Trust. Stop pressing your phone. Listen. You heard what he said. Comrade Friday from Channels. You heard what he said. Hold on. No, you said, are we opting out? That was the question. Then I asked one of you to define what opt-out means. And repeat what you just said so that they hear very well. I'm not sure they heard. No. No, it's okay. I will come in. So, it is when you jointly agree, right, that you want to do something. When you agree jointly that this is the way to go, and along the line, you now decided that you are not doing again. So if you propose to a lady that you want to get married, right? Then along the line, you are no longer getting, something happened. You will come and say, I'm opting out. There was an initial agreement. But comrades, can any of you show us where there was any agreement of us coming together? You know, whenever we are doing things together, you always see us coming together and addressing you. On that particular day, did you see any member of TUC there? So the question is this. I know a lot of you've read the letter that was leaked. The letter was actually meant for TUC members, but it found its way to the press. Unfortunately. Yeah, really regrettably. But I think you've read that letter. And I think it was very clearly stated in the letter. I think the reasons are clearly stated. So, we were not part of the process ab initio. We were not part of the agreement ab initio. So, there is nothing to opt out from at all. Like as I have said repeatedly, that in trade union movement, you have a toolbox. That in that toolbox, you have different tools that you could use in calling government to order. We at TUC, we felt, because if you want to, first of all, you engage. And you engage with what you think is superior information. And that is what we have put together today. So we engage government with this. We will push government, discuss with them, have conversations with them, have meetings with them, profile the solutions that we have put forward now. Some of these solutions are for immediate implementation. Some of the solutions are for medium-term implementation, while others are for long-term. So that means some of them may not be implemented in 1 year. But we believe that those ones that can be implemented immediately, we believe it can be done. Yes. And we believe that if government goes ahead to do those things, most of the problem that we are facing today, it will be eased off. And we went on to state it. Look at what we wrote there as number one. That number one, it is a practice that this same government, that they did between July and October. So we are not profiling solutions that is not practicable. It is a solution that is feasible. It is a solution that is possible. And I can tell you, if that number one alone is implemented, I can tell you that the cost of cars today will reduce. If the number one alone is implemented, the cost of your cameras as journalists, the cost of these cameras, because they import them, they are going to reduce. If that number one is implemented, the cost of diesel, of AGO, that we popularly refer to as diesel, is going to reduce by nothing less than 50%. If that number one is implemented, the PMS price today, the petrol price today will reduce by at least 15%. So when all these are reducing, are they not going to resolve some of the hardship that we are facing? Definitely it will. So it's not left for us to push government in this direction. Because, as you said, the CBN governor acknowledged that our naira is undervalued. So that means for you to know that naira is undervalued, you also have an idea of what the real value of naira should be. Right? So if you have an idea of what the real value of naira should be, as propounded by several experts, locally and internationally. So all we have now said is that go to that real value of naira. when you go to that officially, go to that real value of Naira. Because what it's going to do is that when they go to that real value of Naira, the exchange rate that custom uses today in computing your clearance fee is around 1,500. But if they go to the real value of Naira, which will be between 580 and 650 Naira, what is going to happen is that it will become what? It will become what? It will be reduced drastically. It will be reduced drastically. So that is actually what we are looking at. That is actually what we have seen that is the best solution to solve the problem immediately. This the government has done between July and October. I can't stop repeating that. And if that is also done today, it will ease our problem. Then on the question of the refinery. Yes, like we said, we visited the refinery, we did some level of assessment, and also remember, I also double as the Pengassan president. So we have our members working in that facility. With the necessary push from all our sundry, we strongly believe, that the refinery could come into production before the end of first quarter. So that is why we want to push them sufficiently to ensure that this is met. Remember, it is the old Port Harcourt refinery, but we don't mind. Even if it's giving us 2 million liters per day, let it become operational before others will follow. The minimum wage, like as we have stated severally, that it's going to be a negotiation. Initially we submitted a document to government sometime in June 2023. And in that document, we submitted a minimum wage demand of 200,000 naira. But looking at even the realities of today, because when we submitted it, 200,000 naira, the exchange rate then was somewhere around 600 naira to $1. So by the time you do that computation, you could see that the minimum wage would have been maybe somewhere around 100 and say about 200 plus dollars, say about $300 per day. That would have been our start point of negotiation. But today, that 200,000 naira, what is the value today? If you compute 200,000 naira, you divide it by the parallel market rate, you see what the value is. Go and look at what was the value of 18,000 naira when it was passed into law as a minimum wage in 2011. Then that will give you an idea. So for us, we would not state any figure categorically, but we have computed what we think will work, and we'll take it to the committee when the real work starts. They've inaugurated the committee. We broke into subcommittees, so the work is going on, but government needs to hasten up. Because if you don't pay the people the living wage, you are not just suffering the workers, you are not just suffering the masses, you are transferring it to companies, you are transferring it to industries and all whatnot. Yes, the economy generally will suffer, because when your purchasing power is eroded, you can literally do nothing. Yes, for the agreement that we signed. So now, what was the reason behind giving the 14 days ultimatum? In fact, we actually pushed to ensure that 14 days was captured. The ultimatum that was added there was a push from TUC, I would say that. But it was jointly agreed. That is mutual understanding, right? We now started. So after that, what now came was that the reason we gave that ultimatum was because government signed an agreement with us October. Second, when we looked at that agreement, it was worrisome that nothing has been implemented. In fact, they paid wage award just once for September. Nothing was paid. Nothing was paid again. We looked at that document. There are low-hanging fruits. But the wage award was the least thing that government should do. Visitation to refinery, it was also there in that agreement. But as when we issued that ultimatum, government, they were not even ready to take us to the refinery. So we're now wondering, is it just bobo juice? Are they just giving us stories that are not right? That we need to find out what is happening. So that was why we served an ultimatum jointly. So the ultimatum that we served jointly, the ultimatum that normally if you serve ultimatum, you give like 14 days or you give like 1 month. You have to now look at it. If the person you serve the ultimatum to just go to sleep and says whatever, then it will embolden you to say these people are calling us bluff, then we need to call them to order. But when you serve an ultimatum, the review of that ultimatum is supposed to be like 2 or 3 days to the end of that ultimatum. It's not 4 or 5 days after you gave ultimatum. You still have like 10 days more. So when we issued that ultimatum, government invited us. We started engaging. And we told them the quick wins that must be achieved if you want us not to go on strike. If you don't want us to call our neck to address them. So a meeting was held on Monday. The ultimatum was served on a given Thursday, so the meeting was held on Monday. So when we had that meeting, we went through everything. And we told them, you have not done this, you have not done that. They said, okay, fine. That they are going to act. Remember, before the ultimatum was given, 1 month wage award was paid, September. But as we speak today, before the life of that ultimatum, before the expiration of the ultimatum, they paid 4 months addition. So, has that ultimatum not worked? So, if at the end, if you had a challenge, and you are pushing them, you are having meetings, nothing is happening, you don't give them ultimatum. If they don't act, then you on your path, you call your neck, and you act. But as of today, they have paid till January. So remember, from September, they have paid till January as we speak today. In the life of the ultimatum, you remember, we had challenge with Ritian. You remember that we went to Lagos, we protested, we shouted, after all that, we reduced it to agreement, October 2nd. But as we speak today, within the life of this ultimatum as well, the Ritian issue has been completely resolved. The office of Ritian that was barricaded in Lagos has been opened. Our members, as we speak, the executive has been inaugurated. The president of Ritian now has his escorts fully in Lagos. That was what we were advocating for. Has it not been achieved? Achieved. Then visitation to refinery. We also said that no, these are low-hanging fruit. So immediately they fixed a date. In the life of the ultimatum, we also visited the refinery. Then we also said that ASU, that the money you are owing ASU, that you have to pay. As of today, we learned that they pay about 4 months or so to ASU. So what that means, even beyond that, we said the document must be notarized. You take it to court. Initially, they said they sent it to our lawyer, a lot of excuses. But last week, they brought a copy for me to sign. So all the parties, the Attorney General, myself, President NLC, and Minister of Labor, the 4 of us, we have appended our signature to the document, and they have promised us that, because they have prepared the document, we have signed it, and that so these are work in progress. So because we have not seen some level of demonstration after the review, they have started some level of work. So they now told us on the other issues, on diesel, they said yes, that they have never charged VAT on diesel, which we have also sent our people to verify. The people that should know told us that yes, there is no VAT on AGO, but we still want to do further check on that. So if you give an ultimatum to say, if you don't do this, I will do that. If the other party does his own path, then you now have to also sit down to review. But however, the protest that is being called is not related to the ultimatum that was given. So maybe you can get that clarification from what we were told was that it's not related to the ultimatum that was given. Because when we saw it, we actually thought that was even why we wrote, to say, we issued this together. Why don't we would have waited towards the end? We sit down jointly, the leadership, we review. Then we'll find what to do to resolve the challenge. We are proposing issues of policy. So when you propose issues of policy, you need to engage the other partner. So the president has a mindset. He has people that are advising him. On our path, we think that these are the things that must be done. They are policy issues. So we are going to submit this document to at least the Secretary to Government of Federation. Then we will also have a conversation with him, line by line. The ones that they are they are asking more questions, we provide further clarifications. So when that is done, then we will not have a conversation with them. Like I said, we will not come out to give you an update. Because what we have here, like as we have said, we have things that are 2 weeks, 1 month, and much more. So if you now give an ultimatum of 2 weeks, and there are other things that should be done in 1 month, it becomes a bit conflicting. So for us, we are going to do that, but as we progress, we have not had our next section for a while. As we progress, we will take all these. After the engagement, we will take all these to our neck. The issue of strike and ultimatum, it's NEC that has the power to make such pronouncements. So after all these, we are going to go to our NEC. Most of them are there listening. We will do the presentation, the engagement with government, what the one government said they can do, the one that they want to dilly-dally. So we'll have that conversation. So we'll brief NEC sufficiently, then we will appraise the situation and we'll take a definite position after our NEC meeting. Thank you so much.
There is victory forward, forward, never backward, never forward, never backward, never. In the struggle for our new land, there is victory. Solidarity forever.
We welcome the development. It's just a little step that has been taken. It's not far-reaching enough at all, because reduction of the cost of governance is deeper than what the president has announced. Because reducing entourage, if well implemented, yes, it's okay, but it's not deep at all. Because for us, I think the first thing that must be done, like as we have said, is you must look for ways to patronize made in Nigeria goods. You must look for ways to patronize what we produce here. And as we've said severally, there are a lot of cars that are being assembled today in Nigeria. So why will our government take money outside and start importing vehicles when we could make do with what we locally assemble here? So we could also add that as part of it. Then you also look at the issue of the service-wide vote. This year, I think it's close to 4 trillion or thereabout that is in there. So this is the fund that they use in servicing shortfalls here and there. It's not majorly accounted for. So such funds should be shut down, or rather, a proper accounting mechanisms must be put in place. Then we must look for ways to digitize our processes in the ministries, in civil service, in agencies. Processes must be seamless, and processes, because again, in doing that, you are reducing a lot of bottlenecks in governance. So reduction of cost of governance is much more deeper than that. Even loss of appointments that you do, you should also look at it. So you look at issues that are based on recurrent expenditure. You look at issues as well that are even based on capital expenditure. Part of it as well, you are awarding a contract. What is the contractual process that you pass through? How transparent is that contractual process that you have undertaken? How are we sure that when you are tying a kilometer of road, the money you are paying is not much more than another person somewhere else who is tying same kilometer of road? So we must be able to do this benchmark. So when we say reduction of cost of governance, it's actually it's something that is deep and much more deeper than what the president has pronounced. Yes, we welcome that, but we employ the president to go further than that, because a lot could actually be saved that will be channeled into capital expenditure.
Does it also include them looking inward to review their salaries and their the things they take as benefits?
Yes, the challenge we have in Nigeria is not really about the salaries, the officially quoted salaries of public servants. What is really the salary of the president today? If you go to salaries and wages commission, you see what the president earns. Is it really the official money the president earns? Is it really a big deal? I don't think it's a big deal. But the question is not those official things. That is why every now and then the National Assembly will tell you, go and look at the money. They are proud to quickly tell you how much their salaries are set by the Salaries and Wages Commission. But they will not tell you those other monies that they earn that is not part of their statutory earning. So what we are much more interested in is not really the official earning of about 4, 5, 6, 700,000, no. But what we are much more interested in is that unofficial one that they collect. That is the crux of the matter. Thank you so much. Thank you.